Apologies in advance. Jealousy ensues, but I choose to understand. I said slow, think slower. Cause people are to judge when they barely even know you. Let me say that again. I said slow, think slower. Cause people are to judge when they barely even know you. When I was 7, I used to rock soldiers. Hot boys had it poppin' for the noise. I need a project chick from the corner. Cause I had a friend, she was like 10, but then I used to buy blow pops from the corner. Valentine cost milk money by the quarter. Fast forward, that was dumb girls, Henny by the fifth, 20 pump 6 condoms and recorders. Fucking out of spite, kinda sorta. Got engaged, now I'm thinking about a daughter. Spend a lot of time even though I can't afford her. Please keep it coming with the brown water. Please. Ooh. Back when I had plans to be a hoe, going for a change for the quarter waters. When I was naive to these things, I really wanna follow what my heart shares. Money ain't a thing till it's not there. Bitches ain't shit till you need a queen. And niggas all the same till you meet a king. You know what you need when you that broke. You know what you want when you see the dream. All I wanna do is be the best me. All I wanna do is be the best me.
Yo, peace to the family. This is Soul Cosmos TV. Brother Kufu Shabazz. Got my brother King Norma with me. What's going on, my brother? What you got planned for us today?
Peace, family.
I'm from a Drake line.
Today we're going to speak on the church and the government and how the church is connected to the government and what is a 501c3 or a 501c3, what is a Form 1023, and how it all ties into the FEMA camps. Almost every church, at least 95% of all churches, have a 501c3 or are under a 501c3. Especially black churches in particular. Black churches take in about $400 million a month as a collective. That's over $400 billion a year. Now, I don't have a problem with that, but I have several questions pertaining to that issue. Number one, why are they not investing this money and putting it back into their members or starting black businesses? And number two, why are they not starting banks with this money and issuing out small business loans to their congregation or to their members? In other words, a lot of these churches are selling a lot of religion or a lot of Jesus. And you got to understand that religion can be a business and Jesus can be a name brand. A lot of people don't know that the black church started way back when under the conditions of slavery. And this was during a period of time when the black church started. It was under European supervision with the white supervisor because he had to ensure that they were not speaking in their native language or in their native tongue and not practicing voodoo. So here's a little picture of, you might want to zoom in a little bit and show how, here's kind of like a little picture, showing how the church started out. And then we're going to kind of fast forward and show it to up to the day, but still look in here, and I want you to see how he's preaching, but he's under white supervision because he has to assure that he's preaching the right thing and preaching the right program. Now I'm going to fast forward it up to the day, and you see Bishop Eddie Long with George Bush.
We grind.
And then if you look to the right, you see the same thing. George Bush supervising Bishop T.D. Jakes or T.D. Snakes. And yes, T.D. Snakes, Creflo Steal Your Dollar, Joel Osteen, and Joyce Myers all know the truth about religion. But the thing is, they're paid to tell you the lie. In other words, they understand that religion is a business and Jesus is a name brand. So now let's get back on me. Just wanted y'all to see that, you kind of got to use your third eye a little bit. So being that the church is under a 501c3, I've already explained, basically, of how the black church got started, what their profits are, and how this money is not properly getting reinvested back into their congregation. So my question to you is, where are the tithes, the offerings, and the earnings going to? A lot of it goes to the government. So now that I've explained the church, let's explain how that ties into a 501c3. A 501c3 is basically an IRS form, and that is a form from the IRS and the government that makes you a non-profit organization and tax exempt. In other words, if you were not under a 501c3, the government will shut you down right then and there. So before these pastors even sign a 501c3 or a Form 1023, they have to read through a big stack of papers knowing the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts. In other words, they are properly groomed and prepped and know the truth and know what to teach and know what not to teach. In other words, their 501c3 or their Form 1023 will get revoked and they cannot operate as an entity for the government. So, being that a 501c3 is the main course of the meal that governs the church, that simply says that the church is down with the government since day one and has been gangbanged with the government since day one, and otherwise they couldn't properly function or operate as an organization or as an entity. So it is very important that you know that all churches are under a 501c3, which is basically constituted by the government. And so how does this tie into the church, the government, 501c3, and the FEMA camps? Well, in the event that a lot of these major churches and major pastors are trained and given the proper instructions and tools under the 501c3 and the Form 1023, they then get FEMA camp training, or they basically get assigned to a FEMA camp chapter. Therefore, in the event of martial law, their job is to get you to basically forget about your Second and Fourth Amendment rights, turn in all your firearms, rifles, and weapons, and to go safely and peacefully into a FEMA camp. I'm going to read the United States of America King Alfred Plan. The United States of America King Alfred Plan is the extermination of blacks in America, codenamed REX, REX-84. There are over 600 prison camps in the United States, and they are fully operational and ready to receive prisoners. They are all staffed and evenly surrounded by full-time guards, but they are all empty. These camps are to be operated by FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is a modern-day word for concentration camp. Should martial law need to be implemented in the United States, the current foreseeable event which will see the implementation of the use of these camps is the coming of the New World Order, led by the shadow government. And if you want to know more about this information, you can look up Dr. Ray Hagins. Dr. Ray Hagins has spoken this several years ago, so this is information that is out there. You just have to really go ahead and do a little bit of research. So, there are also 28,000 pastors that are in training to keep you calm on your way to FEMA camps during the police state. So, these are things that you have to be aware of. So now that we talked about the church and how it's connected into the government, or how it ties into the government, which ties into a Form 1023 and a 501c3, and their role during the event of martial law, and how they tie into the FEMA camps, let's do a little more extensive research and let me go further into depth. So like I said, 95% of churches are under a 501c3. In 1954, back then Senator Lyndon B. Johnson offered a tax-exempt free status by considering themselves as a church. So if you don't know who Lyndon B. Johnson is, he is a successor of JFK. Basically, when JFK signed Executive Order 111110, giving power to the people and taking away the power of the Federal Reserve, in the event of his assassination, when Lyndon B. Johnson became president, he reinstated that order, taking away the power from the people, giving the power back to the Federal Reserve.
Hey, that executive order that you just said, that's 1111.
Whoa, damn, that's powerful. You know what? Pretty soon we're gonna do a class on 1111
Yeah.
and its magical energy
It's coming up.
and what it represents. Because 1111 is a master number in numerology, and it is a magical number. Basically, he set up the scam or the hustle, so that way the church can still operate through the government even after separation of church and state. So it's all a game and it's all a hustle, and all of y'all are getting played. So that's why I would advise a lot of y'all to get out of the church right now, or if not, to check your pastor to see if they're under 501c3 with the form 1023, and to ask him or her which FEMA chapter they are assigned to. Romans 13, widely misinterpreted, is the scapegoat and the justification in case of an uprising. This will calm down the congregation and get them to cooperate. Romans 13 is basically what Hitler used during Christianity at a time and period of when Christianity was way more of a political strategy than anything to get Christians to obey the government and to see the government as another form of God. And Hitler did this as well, to kind of get the people to obey the government, because, Hitler was a military strategist and a political genius. Pastors are also groomed on what they can and cannot say, otherwise they be shut down. They cannot speak against the government, other religious organizations, and that helps them to basically become a corporate entity under the regulation of the government when it accepts a 501c3 status, or in accepting state recognition as a licensed church. Now, this is one of the biggest questions that a lot of people will ask, especially a lot of pastors that are naive. They will ask themselves, how do I know if my church has a 501c3? And the answer is quite simple. If your church has a bank account, then it is 100% under the law and jurisdiction. Just because you never applied for it, you already are under the jurisdiction. So the form 1023 is when you notify the government when you seek recognition of your 501c3 status. So whether they know it or not, if they are an operating church and basically have to use utilities, then they're under a 501c3 status. Restrictions. There are restrictions. Number one, they cannot criticize or expose the New World Order or any conspiracies. In other words, they can't speak on that shit. They gotta be naive to the fact. They gotta teach Jesus. Number two, they can't publish anything negative about any politician, officials, Democrats, or Republicans. Number three, they can't criticize government agencies and bureaus or bureaus such as the IRS, the CIA, the FBI, the EPA, the DEA, etc. Number four, they can't criticize any institution of government such as the White House, Congress, Supreme Court, or the Federal Reserve. And number five, which there are many more, I'm just giving you a few examples. They can't encourage congregations to contact your congressman, your senator, your mayor, or any other public official. And this right here is an example of the Form 1023, which is the application for recognition of exempt under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. I want you to zoom in on this. So this shows you how the church ties in with the government, which is connected to a Form 1023 under a 501c3, and their role with the FEMA camps during the event of martial law. So a lot of y'all should really check your pastors on what's going on and ask questions. Don't just believe, ask. This is my little take on the church and the 501c3. If Brother Kufu Shabazz has anything else, I'm going to let him go ahead and take it over.
Peace to the family. Hey, that was a powerful presentation, brother. We appreciate it.
Oh, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel.
Yes, like and subscribe. Peace, y'all.